nature of work. All right, that should be up now on the screen. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good motorway. So it's the changing nature of work, and by work we mean working in childcare field of any description. So okay, here we go. It was not until the later part of the 1990s. Now this is where it goes way back. I don't know what you did with Caroline. Did you, when you did the curriculum, did you go way back to the 1800s kind of thing? Anyway, look, it doesn't matter. I have it synopsized here anyway, but if you really want to know what kind of, and you need a book to make head nor tail of it, the book that you did, the curriculum book you did with Caroline, you'll have most of your references out of that. And I use that as well for doing this here. So it was not until the latter part of 1990 that attention to childcare policy escalated to the top of the policy agenda. However, this was 1990s now. However, there was a series of initiatives from earlier on in that decade that drove the increased urge for suitable childcare. One action, the establishment through the Department of Education of the Early Start, Early Intervention Project in 1994. Now that was established within existing primary school system and supported the development of a network of preschool classes for 3-year-olds in designated disadvantaged areas. It was called the Educational Research Centre. That was one of the first places that the first places where there was a kind of a preschool setting, and it was in a primary school, and I think it was in Rutland Street in Dublin, inner city Dublin, and it was, I'm rooting around now because I think I have a note of it somewhere. It was to help disadvantaged children. The classes were staffed by primary school teachers and childcare assistants and operated a curriculum reflective of the original Rutland Street intervention project of the late 1960s. Sorry, no, that it was 1960s. Rutland Street was first formed. So the provision of formal childcare was very limited, with few centre-based childcare facilities, and much of the so-called childcare provision offering only preschool education and socialisation opportunities in very small and relatively unstructured settings, usually for the academic year prior to the first year in infant school. What I was saying there is that there was childcare, it was set up, and there was, it was the year before they went to school, and it was offering preschool education and socialisation opportunities. So it really was to get the children to socialise and, you know, probably doing very basic educational stuff with them before they went to school. In Ireland in the 1980s and 90s, as more mothers tended to remain in or return to the workforce, the childcare needs of parents continued to be most frequently met by family or neighbours. The potential of female labour force as an impetus for further economic growth, together with the economic needs of many couples, continued to advance female participation in the labour force at the same time as the EU equality legislation expanded opportunities for women. So what they're saying there is the economic growth of the Irish economy and the needs of many couples we'll say they needed, sorry, no, I'm just checking here. Oh, can you hear me, ladies? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone can't hear me. Who can't hear me? They're after sending me a thing saying, trying to call you back.
All right. I can hear you anyway.
I can hear.
Can everyone hear? Or surely
Yes.
if you can't hear me, I don't know who's after sending this. Anyway, look, it doesn't matter. Look, if you can hear, maybe it was sent a couple of minutes ago. So the potential of the female labour force was by the growth of the economy, by couples obviously needing more money, and the advance and women going into the labour force, women going back to work. And the EU then were bringing in legislation as well, expanding opportunities for women. And the result of these changing was an increasing awareness of the need for childcare services. So really the whole childcare service was based around women having to go back to work. So the terms of reference of the EOCP, that's, I've written down the bottom what it is the Equality of Opportunity Childcare Programme, made it clear that investment in the development of childcare services was primarily to overcome a barrier to the full participation of women in the labour market. Taking this focus rather than a child focus had influenced the way in which services are developed and supported. So they weren't really doing it at all for the benefit of children. Childcare services were formed in, say, 1980, so that women could actually go back to work. So that's what was centred around. It has also led to a still unaddressed conflict between the traditional ideology of the family and the economic necessity to attract women into the workforce. So that was a quotation from Hayes, 2002, and Hayes and Bradley, 2006. So they were coming to the same conclusion in 2002 by Hayes, and when he was joined by Bradley in 2006, and nothing had changed. It was based around women going back into the workforce. Childcare services in Ireland have been provided by private profit-making sector. The introduction of the ECCE scheme in January 2010 was very important as it provided universal provision of childcare placements for children in play school. The scheme at the time provided a one-year placement for preschool children and was not means tested. That was, the one now at the moment where it's 15 hours a week. That was extended to 2 years in September 2016. So now they get 2 years. So early childhood care and education is more than preparation for primary school. It aims at the holistic development of a child's social, emotional, cognitive and physical needs in order to build a solid and broad foundation for lifelong learning and well-being. And that's what it is, because like I said a few moments ago, for children to when it was first started, it was really socialising them, but now it has developed into working for the holistic development of the child, if you think of PILES, physical, intellectual, language, emotional and social development. So there are two types of early childhood educational schemes. There is the sessional one, which is the 15 hours a week, and full-time creches, daycare centres, nurseries, breakfast clubs, after school. While the ECCE scheme is completely funded by the government through PUBL, parents who avail of other facilities pay a fee with a subsidy towards the fee paid by the government. The subsidy is means tested. So if other than the ECCE, if parents are putting children into other settings, we'll say full into creche or full daycare, the government pay a certain amount towards it. And then what they do is the parents make up the difference. Now, it's interesting because we'll say sometimes children come and they go to the ECCE setting, they might be minded by granny or something like that. So then they just come out for 15 hours in the week, or even less. It would depend on how young the child was. But normally the child now at the moment is under 2 years and 8 months. Otherwise he or she would qualify for the ECCE scheme. And at the moment, this will make you laugh, ladies. Someone who is sending their child 2 days a week, 2 mornings a week, because of the age, and both parents are working, the subsidy the government pays towards the cost of childcare, because they'd have to pay because the child doesn't qualify for the free school year yet, is €2.70. €1.35 a day. And I mean, that is I have someone at the moment now that's available of that, and they said no, they wouldn't be bothered. They'd rather give me the 270. I mean, it's pathetic, absolutely pathetic, and that's because both parents are working. So preschools did not exist in Ireland until the 1970s and into the 80s and 90s. This was largely due to women not working outside the home. Prior to that, the education of children was from school-going age onwards. And children didn't go to preschool. There was no preschools there. They went straight to school. Now, the marriage ban meant that working women in the public service had to leave their jobs as soon as they got married and became stay-at-home mothers and wives. The ban was lifted for primary school teachers in 1957, but it was not until 1973 for other women who worked in the public system. And which have an awful lot of you there, you probably are not even aware of the fact that there was a marriage ban. When people worked in the public service, if there were public servants, if there were guards, teachers, nurses, anyone that was paid by the government, when they got married, they had to leave work. But that changed in 1957, only for teachers. It took until 1973 for everybody else to be able to stay on after they got married. So this now is just, look, you can read, well, I'll read through it with you, but it's something, it's in the curriculum book anyway. The Prowess Commission, which 1868 to 70, set up to value the system of education in Ireland. And 1872, a system of payments by results was introduced. What happened there was, we said this is now going back to primary school. So a commission was set up and the teachers were paid according to their results. So the better results the school got, the more the teacher got paid. So which contributed to the brutal punishments inflicted on children. And that has to do with the corporal punishment. That's why children were beaten and slapped, because the teacher wanted them to learn. However they were going to do it, they were determined to learn so that they'd produce the good results and the teacher get more pay. So facilities for young children were purely structured with emphasis on the 3 R's. Now the 3 R's are reading, writing, even though it starts with a W, and arithmetic. It starts with A, which was called the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Model Infant School in Dublin was set up using the methods by Froebel. So the first infant school in Dublin was set up using Froebel's theories. Now that the Prowess Commission was that, then the Belmore Commission was founded by the Earl of Belmore, Commission on Manual and Practical Instruction Recommendations. There was a kindergarten for infant children, educational handiwork and elementary science were covered, drawing, maintaining and extending school garden, cooking, laundry and domestic science, needlework, singing, drill and physical exercise. Now I'll go back to that. There was a kindergarten for Jews, so we'll say in 1897, the commission said that there should be a form of education set up where a kindergarten for infant children, that was very young children, could start school. And these were the things that they did. Now, drawing fine, school garden fine, cooking fine, laundry, I don't know what I mean by laundry, domestic, that would be their whatever, needlework, well, that probably the older children, singing, drill, I don't know what drill is, and physical exercise. So after the commission, infant education was addressed and the method followed was Froebel's. So after that commission, this will be interesting now as this will go on, because you'll see, ladies, much hasn't changed. They followed Froebel's method. Now then, the Dale report came after this. He reported on infant education in Ireland and was very critical of it. There was classes of over 35 were permitted to employ at least one junior assistant. Due to the lack of funding, very little was done. Classes remained large and classrooms were badly resourced. Now, ladies, that was 1904, and really nothing has changed. In actual fact, things have got worse because teachers have 35 children in class, but they don't have any junior assistant. At least in 1904, under the Dale report, they could have 35 children and a junior assistant. Now, the junior assistant was not a teaching assistant. It wasn't a teacher, but it was a classroom assistant. So, I mean, things actually have got worse, believe it or not. So, the National Programme Conference in 1921-22, promotion of the Irish and culture in primary schools, all instruction in junior and senior infants, was through the medium of Irish. So that came in 1921-22. So revised programs for infants and the new school, they were, I'd say, the all-Irish schools. That was 1948. And in 1951, there was a special booklet brought out for teachers, and they sought to promote an activity-based child-centered curriculum for infants. It promoted oral language, both Irish and English, learning through play, cookery, needlework, they're mad into needlework, gardening, singing, dance and music. While this was innovative and positive, lack of funding and large numbers prevented it from being fully realised. And that now again goes back to 1948, 1951. Now, if you look at it there seems to be an awful lot of kind of like Astor there as well, you know, the gardening and the singing and the dancing and the music. And but again, problems, large numbers and poorly resourced. Now we're coming up to more up to date. The primary school curriculum in 1971, a new primary school curriculum was introduced to primary schools that was child-centred. Large classes, listen to this, and lack of resources prevented the objective from being fully realised. We're now in 1971, but we're back to 1904. Nothing has changed since 1904. So the curriculum then was updated again in 1999. It was developed by the NCCA, the National Curriculum of something assessment for the other CM, I can't remember. The report was examined and recommendations were made regarding its new structure and content. There was a broad base of 11 subjects. It recommended non-didactic, active teaching methods that allow children to discover skills and information for themselves. Non-didactic means not teacher-led, that the children were to explore and find out for themselves. Large classes are still an issue with ratios of 25:1, and that was in 1999. So we're just doing a quick reprieve here. 1969, the preschool in Rutland Street. It was the Van Leer Foundation. It promoted early education living in economically disadvantaged areas. 1992, we did this, ladies, when we were doing the SNA module. Ireland ratified the United Conventions on the Rights of the Child. It made people aware of the rights of children, and the National Children's Strategy was published by the Department of Health and Children. In the year 2000, children will receive quality supports and services to promote all aspects of their development. That's what the government said in 2000. In 1999, the National Forum on the ECE, Micheál Martin, he brought all the organisations together. There was different organisations about, and they were all doing their own thing, and so he brought them all together. In 1999, the NVCC, 7 non-government agencies dedicated to promotion of the early childhood education, and they received government funding. So they were all brought together and they said, right, we'll work together now for the benefit of the children, and they got funding from the government. In 1999, there was a white paper called Ready to Learn. It set out government policy on all issues relating to early childhood education. Finding led to preschool regulations and Astor and Shielta. So 1999 was when the first inkling of funding being made available to preschools, which really didn't come in for years later, and the first lot of regulations, no, they didn't come into operation in 1999. But they were drafted and redrafted. 2002, Centre for Early Development Education. It was established by Dublin Institute of Technology and St. Patrick College, and it set out to achieve the goals that were stated in the Ready to Learn white paper in 1999. It was disbanded in 2008 when it was said to have achieved what it set out to do. Now, 1999, we go back there, to when they all came together, that's when the findings led to preschool regulations, Shielta and Astor. They didn't actually come in to operation until much later, but the preschool regulations were drawn up in 2006, and they were amended in 2016. Now, if you are ever quoting the preschool regulations, ladies, they are 2006, but amended in 2016. A lot of the 2006 regulations were retained with some change and some added in 2016, and it covered working with children in the 0 to 6 age bracket. And that time then the inspection started. There was 2 inspectors from the HSCUs come that time, a nurse and an environmental officer. Now we're down to a nurse. We don't have the environmental officer. And 2006, Shielta was introduced. That was the National Quality Framework for Early Education. 2009, Astor came after Shielta, the Early Childhood Curriculum Framework, and it's the aim of Astor is the development of the child. Junior classes in primary school must now follow the Astor curriculum. And that's why we in the preschool service have inspectors from the Department of Education and Skills, the DESH inspectors, where they come in and they see, are we operating the ASHTR curriculum and how we're operating it. And well, I don't know, we did ours 2 years ago and we haven't seen them since, and we don't want to see them either. But anyway, the term special education needs, remember this now, is defined in the Education for Persons with Special Needs Act 2004. This is the Epson Act. And this is one of the most important acts in Ireland. A restriction in as a restriction in the capacity of the person to participate in and benefit from education on account of an enduring physical, sensory, mental health or learning disability or any other condition which results in a person learning differently from a person without that condition. Now, you remember that we quoted that. That's a quotation from the Epson Act. And when we're doing our SNA course, that was a quotation from it. So the special needs education legislative framework for the inclusion of students with special educational needs in mainstream school, the Education Act 1998, the Education Welfare Act 2000, the Equal Status Act 2000 and 2004, and the Education for Persons with Special Educational Needs 2004. That's the Epson Act, which you've done all that, ladies, in your SNA module. And again, integration became very, we're talking about the change of nature of our work, how people with additional needs and special needs are now integrated into our schools and our preschools, and that would never ever have happened way back within the early 1900s. They actually would not have been acknowledged, and that was it. And a lot of them would not have gone to school; they'd have been kept at home if they had any disability or people that were clearly had special needs. They were never put into the mainstream of society. A lot of them would have been locked away. And I know of one incident where one of my friends never ever knew she had an uncle until he died, when because he was locked away. Never knew it, locked away in a school, a special school, and didn't know nothing about it until the morning was died, and she was told by her mother about her, I can't remember his name, her uncle anyway, who she kind of went, who's he? And then she was told she never knew he existed. And I'd say she was about 16 or 17 that time, and he was locked away all his life. And I don't know, did anyone ever visit him, or was he ever acknowledged? But that's what they did that time. They just didn't want to know about people with disability. They weren't brought out into society or anything. So we have come an awful long way, really, when it comes to special needs, and we do really good work with them. Once our children with special needs are assessed and kind of, given the right, and professionals are working everything, we do terrific work with them, and they're totally acknowledged within our society and everything. And it's wonderful, and it's a great credit to us as a people as well. So integration traditionally refers to the education of children with special needs in mainstream settings. Integration is a process for achieving education equality for pupils with disabilities or special educational needs. Now you know that, ladies, because Griffin and Cheslin. The fundamental principles of inclusion are far deeper. Inclusion in education involves the process of increasing the participation of students with disabilities in and reducing their exclusion from curricula and communities of local schools, and restructuring the policies, cultures and practices in schools so response to the needs of the individuals. Now that I'm talking about schools there, but it also applies to preschool settings and things like that, that we adapt our settings and our routines and things to include children with special needs in our schools and preschools. So that is really some of the huge changes that have come about for the positive. And that's it. Any question there, ladies?
No.
No, that's good. Right, I'm just finding what have I not done, Machi. Here we go now again. I'll be trying to share now again. Oh, dear Lord. I want to do the educational levels of employees, but I need to share that now again with you. So hold on. Let's see, can I find you? There you are. Now this one is a nice, easy one. I don't even, ladies, you know it. I don't even have to tell you about it. But it's only 5. Is it? I check how many slides is it? 5 slides only, I think. Yeah. So you know, anyway, the education level of employees. It's employees in childcare we're talking about here now. The minimum qualification, I know you know all this, but I have to do it. So from December 31st of December 2016, as stated in the Child Care Act of the Early Years Services Regulations 2016, all staff working directly with children must hold a minimum of QQI Level 5 Major Award in Early Childhood Care and Education. And that now is in since 2016. Up to that, really and truly, there was no set qualifications. It was kind of, you know, a good idea if you had it, but there was nothing written in stone. An awful lot of people went into schools as, well, you wouldn't call them SNA assistants because they didn't have an SNA qualification, but they went in to help children that were taken in with special needs, and they had no qualifications whatsoever. All they needed was their junior cert. And to be quite honest, Joe, I don't think there's anything written in stone now that says you have to have an SNA qualification, but most schools look for it, and rightly so too. So this regulation will not apply to persons working the sector. Now, this is what I'm talking about, the qualifications now and from the 31st of December. But this regulation of having to hold a Major 5 award does not apply to persons working the sector who signed the grandfathering clause before the 30th of June 2016 that stated that he or she intends to retire from employment and preschool service before September 2021. So if you decided, if you were employed in the service on the 1st of January 2017 and you didn't have your 11.5, but you had been working there for years, you signed a document saying, well, look, I'm not going to do the level 5 because I am going to, it's called the your grandfathering clause. You're there so long that I am going to be gone from the service by the 31st of August 2021. Then you did not have to have the level 5 degree as long as you signed that. But it must be signed. It had to be signed, and there was a special form that was filled out. And it was, I know the Tussler would take it, I think it's Tussler would take it, or maybe it had to be sent to the department, and it was a kind of a legal document. And you couldn't change your mind then on, we'll say, the 31st of August now next year and say, well, no, you really look, I won't bother, that's the end of the year, you can't, you have to go, and that's it. So that was it. ECCE room leader qualification. If you are providing the ECCE scheme, all leaders must hold a minimum of level 6 Major Award in Early Childhood Care and Education, or the equivalent, from December 2016, and is a requirement of the ECCE contract. So that means that that's what you're all doing. You're trained to be room leaders. You're not room leaders yet. If the inspector comes in and you say, well, now Mary's there now, and you know, she's nearly finished, she's only one module left to go. Nah, tough luck. You actually have to be qualified. You must have your award in your hand. Your award, not your reward, your award in your hand. Some of them will accept the results while you're away, because you know you don't get it actually until, you won't get it until autumn next year, September, October next year. But a lot of inspectors will accept the results, but some of them won't. They want a piece of paper. So that is, and when they would say the manager, like I'd be filling out all my staff and qualifications and sending it away next September, I would have Mary, that's here with you now tonight, she would have her level 6 done, but she won't have her award. She will have the qualification. So I really can't put her down as having a level 6 until she gets that beautiful document into her hand. So, anyway, you see these awards go on. You finish now with me in February or March, or whenever we finish the Social Legal Herald, and a lot of you are finished. But you're waiting then until October to get that award, and I don't know, I must say something about that. Why don't I just give you your award in June, so that you're ready for September for the following year? So I might actually say that to the CETB, not that they'll listen to me, but I'll say it anyway. And I mean, it's ridiculous having to wait until the autumn, because the school year has started, and then someone is looking for a room leader. But you can't actually be a room leader until you have that bloody piece of paper in your hand. And so, I mean, a lot of people would be afraid to take someone on with the results, just the results alone, because it depends on your inspector. If your inspector comes in and says, oh, that's fine, but you might have an inspector saying, no, they have their results, but they don't have their piece of paper, like. So a lot of people won't hang on to. I might actually make that suggestion. I'll talk to Catherine about it. Catherine seems to have the ear of the CEGB. So a higher capitation is available. They'd have to change it then for everyone else, but they might as well change it for everyone else. I don't know why we have to wait until autumn. And you see, as well as that, the internal, well, maybe it has to do something with the internal or the external examiner. I don't know, she comes in April or May. But sure, even if you got your award during the summer, even if you got it in July or August, you'd still have it for September. I must say that. I must actually say that. Yeah. A higher capitation is available to preschool services where the preschool leader has achieved a major award in early childhood care and education at level 7 on the NFQ, the National Framework of Qualifications, and where the assistants have achieved the minimum level 5 award. What that is saying there are 2 capitations available to people who run ECCE scheme. And we'll say for someone who doesn't have a level 7 or a level 8 degree, the capitation per child is €69 per week. If you have someone who has their degree, it's €80.25 per child per week. But again, that depends on you. You can't have kind of 22 children, one with a degree and things like that. You'd have to have a degree, a room leader, an assistant if there was 22 children, things like that in it. But you must also, you can't just have someone with a degree in the set. You must also have someone with at least a level 5 qualification. Now, not all level 7s are accepted to Pobble. Actually, in actual fact, I don't know anyone. No, I don't actually know anyone who got her capitation on a level 7. A level 7, as you know, is a past degree. They're looking for people to do level 8s. So as well as that, there are, if you are ladies going on to do qualification level 7, level 8, be very, very careful where you're doing it. Now your granddad will say UCC, CIT, IIT, ITT, any of those. But there are colleges, and if you are doing that, Pobble have a list of colleges they accept. Every college that a Pobble accept is on that list. And if you're unsure, or if you're doing it online somewhere with some crowd, make sure it's on that list. Because Pobble will come in, they'll check the college, they'll check it against their list, and they'll go, won't do, not on the list. And there are a few of them that are not on the list, so be very careful. And I constantly say that if you're doing something online, be very careful who you're doing it with. So people with qualifications from abroad should have their qualifications translated officially into English. So if someone is coming from abroad and they have their qualification from their own country, it has to be translated into English, but it can't be translated by anybody. I think there's somewhere in the South Malin Cork that does it. They translate with, say, things like marriage certs, people who are married abroad and their marriage certs are in another language, and probably a whole lot of other things too. And it's an official organisation that do it, and they have an official stamp. And I don't know what they charge, €100 or something like that. So if there's anyone coming abroad, or you know anyone coming abroad and they have qualifications, make sure they try and go into Cork and get them translated into English. To work on the AIM programme in a childcare setting, a worker needs to have at least a level 5 qualification. Having an SNA qualification alone does not suffice. So if you have, if you will say you're looking for someone to work with a child under the AIM scheme, and someone applies under an SNA and has an SNA qualification, that will not do at all. They must, as well as having, if they have the AIM, the SNA, great, but they must have a level 5 as well. but you don't have to have an SNA qualification to work with and on the AIM program, but you must have a level 5. Oh, geez, I don't know. It's just, I don't get them sometimes. You'd say the SNA alone would do, but it doesn't. A higher capital, sorry, yeah?
No, I'm just wondering there, like, about the room leader stuff. Like, if, the way, is it only in an ECC room that, let's say, you have to have your level 6 to be a room leader, or is that all rooms?
Oh, I'd say it is probably all rooms, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say it is, yeah. I'd say it is all rooms, yeah. Oh, it would be, I'd say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I mean, I would imagine it would be all rooms, like, because what would they do with other rooms? Should they have to have a room leader?
Yeah, sure. As in, like, could you have like a level 5 to be a room leader, let's say in a toddler room now? Or in the middle of your level 6 or whatever?
I personally would think, that's a good question. Who's asking that question, sorry?
Lisa.
Lisa, hi Lisa. Lisa, to be honest, I don't know, but I can find out. I presumed you'd want a level 6. I don't know. Camilla, do you know? Does anyone know? It hadn't dawned on me. Actually, Lisa, it's a very good question. I'll make a note of it here. And yeah. I'll answer it on I'll send you an email when I'm sending stuff, and I'll find out. What do you think? Do you think you need a level 5 would do you? Do you? You don't know?
No, I was just curious. Is it just
the
rooms, or is it like the other rooms as well that you'd have to have the level 6 room leader?
Yeah. Well, you see, I suppose I'd imagine you'd want a level 6 because it has nothing to do with capitation or anything. You see, it has nothing at all to do with capitation.
Yeah.
See, the capitation is Jesus. The capitation is for, we said, the level 7s and level 8s, like, so I would imagine to be a level, but what I'll do is I'll find out. It didn't dawn on me. I presumed that everyone had to have a level 6 to be a room leader. But maybe not. Maybe I will be enlightened. Thanks for the question. And I'll look into it. So a higher capitation fee is payable to preschool service providers for all preschool leaders delivering the preschool that holds a bachelor's degree in early childhood education, minimum of level 7, or blah, blah, we've been through that, and to have 3 years experience of working in the sector, and where all preschool assistants in the service hold a relevant major award in childcare at level 5. So they are actually looking for a degree with 3 years experience, not 3 years experience with a degree now. 3 years experience of working childcare. You could be like, do your degree. You could go in as a level 5 or something like that and be working in the place for 3 years and then do your degree. I mean, that's what they look for. And I know when they came here, they were with the girls, they were checking how long they're in childcare. And when you apply, every year when I apply, you send in your list of employees and things, and I apply for the higher capitation. They will always ask the question, how long are they working in childcare? And that's why they want to know how many. You must have 3 years of work in childcare. Not all level 7 or 8 awards are acceptable as qualifying for the higher capitation fee. I was saying that, be careful. But I mean, there are very few. There are very, very few colleges that are not accepted. Just be very careful. In order for an award to qualify, it must include significant content in core knowledge areas such as child development 0 to 6 and early childhood education theory and practice. So, I mean, that's one of the things as well, I suppose, when they looked at whatever colleges that they didn't accept, if maybe they found that their modules and things weren't suitable or didn't cover like child development, which would be vital, and theory and practice, and I'd imagine child psychology and things. For example, secondary school teaching qualifications are not acceptable as they do not cover these core knowledge areas. So if you couldn't, someone came to me and said, sure, I have it. I'm a secondary school teacher. That won't do. They can't work in childcare. It is stressed that the higher qualified staff attracting the higher capitation rate must work directly with the children at all times during the ECCE sessions. If this rule is not observed, services are in breach of their contractual obligations and will lose their higher capitation rate. What that means there that all higher capitation, all level 7s and level 8s must work with the children. I couldn't take either of the girls here and kind of say, you're going away there now and there and you do the office work now for the next year. I'm fed up of it and I'm going to, you can't do that. They must work directly with the children. And that's it. So let's see. Yep. End of. Any questions apart from Lisa's? Thanks, Lisa, for that question. Now, right. I'll see now what else I have that's of interest to you. Now, right, oh, there's one big long one, but I don't want, we'll all have a headache by the time we're finished with it.
Joan, just wondering there, before you finish tonight, will we be able to just kind of go through what we could have done now?
Whole course?
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, I went through it the other night myself here.
Okay.
I was saying, if you have the descriptor, we certainly can go through that, yeah. And see, I'll tell you what we've covered and what you could be working on. To be quite honest, you girls, we've an awful lot done. I know it's, you know, I've been looking and mark it off and making my own list out. And they're all small, itty bitty bloody things, like really. So what we'll do is we certainly will go through it. But the next thing I will show, because I'm anxious to talk to you about the interview and things later on, and when we can organise doing the interviews with you. And so the demographic change is the next thing now.
Joan, sorry, can you hear me there?
I can.
Kay logged out there. She's after texting me and she can't get back in. Can you send her a link again or something?
Right, 1 minute down, I see, can I? Right, 1 minute now. Bear with me, and I see, can I log her back in again?
Okay, I'll just text her here.
Yeah, tell her I'll try to log her. See what happens when we do something like that, you're all inclined to be logged out then, and I don't want to kind of miss that about. 1 minute now, and I'll try this and I'll go back in this way. Right. I'm in voice hearing now again. We'll see now. No, I've invited her in now. She should get the invite.
Okay.
Right. We'll work away while Kay is trying to come in.
Okay.
Right. I was doing the demographic, which is boring, but look, I have to do it. Right, demographic. Now, this, ladies, is page 7. It's facilitate the learner to analyse the key challenges and opportunities relevant to a specific vocational area. For example, demographic change. And 1 minute now. Now, the definition of demographic changes relates to the structure of populations. That is, you know, I suppose it's taken from census, and when they do the census and whether population have dropped and whether, you know, how many boys are born, how many girls are born, how many children were born in Macroom compared to Ballavooney and all that sort of thing. Any news on her trying to join in? No? No? No. Yeah. Look, I'll wait.
No.
I don't know what way she'll pop up now, you see.
Yeah.
So demography is the statistical study of populations, especially human beings. It's an analysis can cover whole societies or groups defined by criteria such as education, nationality, religion, and ethnicity. So the ethnic population. So that's what it covers. And a lot of the information for something like change is found in the CSO, because after a census now is taken, a couple of years later, all the information goes into the CSO. So if you ever want to find out something like that, we'll be talking about that. But when you're talking about setting up your own business, find out what's the population of an area and how many boys and how many girls and how many were born at such an age. You'll find that out in the CSO. Demographics is the study of population based on factors such as age, race, and sex. Demographic data refers to socio-economic information expressed statistically, also including employment, education, income, marriage rates, birth and death rates, and a few more factors. Governments, corporations, and non-government organizations use demographics to learn more about a population's characteristics for many purposes, including policy development and economic market research. So the government use it a lot. Demographic data is very useful for businesses to understand how to market to consumers and plan strategically for future trends in consumer demand. And to bring it down to very simple like that, if you were talking about opening up your own business, or if any some crowd were coming in and going, a community going to set up, the first thing that I have to do is check, well, is this viable or is it not? We're opening up now, so we will be opening up now. How many babies were born? If you're doing kind of taking them from a year old, how many babies were born a year ago? And then you'd have to find out how many other creches or preschools, whatever, are in the facilities. And oh God, is there enough now? Sure, look, there wasn't so many born in that particular year, so maybe we'll just go with preschool facilities. You'll be looking into all of that, and that's how you'll be looking at the population and the sex and the age group of the children. The combination of internet data and artificial intelligence is greatly increasing the usefulness and application of demographics as a tool for marketing and business strategy. So one of the studies of demography undertaken, am I pronouncing that right? Demography undertaken is focused on the number of births, the sex of babies born, and the number of people entering and leaving the country, migration, and it affects the structure of the population. So all that will be taken into account. The rate of population change over time depends upon 5 factors. The birth rate, obviously, this refers to the number of live births per 1,000 of the population over a year. The fertility rate refers to the number of live births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44 over 1 year. The death rate refers to the number of deaths per 1,000 of the population over the course of a year. And international migration. This refers to the movement of people from one country to another. Immigration refers to people entering a country, IMMI, immigration, and the other immigration refers to people leaving a country. Statistics on net migration provide information on number of immigrants in proportion to the number of the other way, refers to people coming into the country. So statistics would say how many people left the country and how many people have come in, and have more come in than went out. There was a fall in births during the recent recession, which started in 2008, followed by a post-recession baby boom when the economy picked up. And we all know that, any of us involved long enough in childcare, the recession hit in 2008, and then people after that weren't having babies for a long time, and numbers dropped in schools, and numbers dropped in well, we actually didn't see the numbers in the setting until we'll say maybe 2011, 2012, and then the numbers kind of dropped for a while, and then the recession went after, was it 7 years or something, and then suddenly people started having children again because they could afford them, which is an awful way. I know that when you think about having families, but that's the way it is. And then the numbers picked up again in our settings and in our schools. When economy picked up and there was an increase in the preschool population, creches, play schools and preschools began to extend their premises and some opened up as new businesses. And that happened after the recession. Now, God love us, we're going heading for another recession now after the COVID, because the country will have, so I don't know what's going to happen. On the other hand, the effects of COVID-19 forced some businesses to close and some providers made the choice to retire. And that's what happened. During COVID-19, some businesses had to close because of, how the government said they had to, our Department of Health, we had to have pods and things like that. And then people could not, they just would say if you had a very, very small setting with only 10 children and you were working on your own with those 10 children and suddenly you were told, and it was recommended to us, that we take extra staff on. Someone worked with 10 children, could not afford to pay extra staff. You just couldn't, and that's it. So that's why the government brought in the Employers' Wage Subsidy Scheme, EWSS, to help employers like that to be able to pay staff to take on that extra person. And but a lot of people retired when the COVID hit and things like that. One of my friends that had business as long as I am decided she retired, and that was it. Because she just felt, look, that was it, she'd enough of it. And there was an awful lot of hassle went on for providers when we were closed down during the last recession. I mean, I never worked harder than I did during that time because of the amount of paperwork. And it was brought in on top of us because those of us who kept our employees on our books under the temporary wage subsidy scheme had all this paperwork to fill out, and we had courses to do, and our staff had to do courses. And then, as well as that, I had to keep track of all the courses they did, and I had to log them and keep records of them and everything. So some people that were coming near retiring age, and I decided, something, this is the time for me to go, and they did. So it has now left the door open for we'll say, businesses to open up in that area. So if you want to find out information about and this is where I got the information about demographic changes, where you'll find it, social justice thing, any of those websites. Survey in August 2020 about the reopening of schools. We all had to take a huge survey, and you'll find all the introduction and summary of results and the impact of enforced school closures. And you can quote those websites, ladies, when you are doing your referencing at the end. And that's that one, short and sweet. Right. Now, Kay still didn't get back in. Did she get back in?
No, I didn't know.
Did you get back in the notes? You just let yourself in, Kay, did you?
Yeah,
that's grand. If you're in, that's great. Great. I'm now. All right. I'll see what else now have I free. Employability is a career management, demographic change, education levels. We've now on technology and the importance of technology. And when I've that done, that finished, this is, wait a while, maybe it's too long. Wait a minute. Oh, it's 9 slides. I know you want to ask me questions. So what I'll do is I'll leave the technology for now. And I can come back to it because I know you want to go through what you're supposed to have done and what you're not supposed to have done or are supposed to have done. Elaine, was it you asked the question that you wanted us to go through something? Hello? You?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's fine.
It was Mary that asked the question about.
Oh, Mary, sorry, Mary. Yeah, hi, sorry, Mary.
Yeah.
Right, so you want me to go? We'll go through, right. If you open your descriptor now at page.
Okay.
Page 6.
Yeah.
We'll go through it. General work-related information. That's actually what we're going through now tonight. I'll just pull you up here. Yeah. We covered now the changing nature of work. We covered that tonight, so that slide it'll be sent to you. Employment, unemployment, we covered. Employability skills, we covered. Globalization, I didn't cover. I will do that. Excuse me. I will do that the next night, or I'll send you information by email. Because to be honest with you, I didn't. It was a load of gobbledygook I had, and it didn't make sense to me. So I'm going to have to kind of paraphrase it and make sense of it myself. Then we did career management tonight, so that's done. Now, work organisations, we did that the first night. That was covering things like daycares and NENARAs and childmindings and sessional care and everything. And you will find all the information for that in your book, the curriculum, but it's also on a slide, okay? Now, we spoke about the needs and gaps on the organisations and the childcare organisation. I think we did that the last night or the night before. And personal set skills that match. And then you looked. We looked at the gaps that were in the organisation and the needs and things like that. And you were then to look at your own personal skills and your audit and see how you could fill those gaps. You know, there obviously is a gap in level 6 qualifications. There isn't enough people go around, so you can fill that gap by doing that qualification. There is a gap probably in first aid responders, because really in a setting, depending on the number of children, there need only be one first aid responder. Now in our place here, there's only, because we'd have only 17 session times, one first aid responder is all required, even though we all do the course. But I mean, you can't have one first aid, because what happens if she's out or he's out? I mean, you're left there with no first aider. So, I mean, it's a case of they should always, it depends on the number of children, but at least 2 first aiders. So, I mean, there'll be gaps there, like, you know, that you do your first aid course. If you go through, we were talking about the gaps, and you take a look at your audit and see where you fill in those gaps. So, we spoke about working hours and shift work and flexible. We spoke about pay and minimum wage. And you're going to be doing this now again next week or the week after or something. And you know, you have it done already, really, because an awful lot of this module is a lot of repetition. We spoke about safety and welfare at work and job stresses and challenges. I refer back there to your SNA and stress management and things. And I think I sent you an email just with a Word document attached to about challenges facing childcare workers. And if you didn't, it's in your email somewhere. I sent it, was it last week? It's just I listed the challenges I came across them when I was reading something else. Then there was a thing about dress code, that'd be uniforms and things. Career progression, how to progress in your career. And that's where I spoke about, you know, the CITs and the double ITs and the ITTs and Montessori and doing the different courses. Needs met by work, that was, you know, life-work balance. And then those two could be joined together. Are your needs met by your work and your work-life balance? Those two, we did those. Okay. Now tonight we did the demographic change, which was there about the population and the thing, and you look at it and how it affected childcare. Immigration, we didn't do that yet tonight, did we? No. So I'll put that down for the next night. No. I have it done all right. It's immigration and immigration. Now we mentioned it a while ago, but I haven't done. Economic shifts, I have it done, but we didn't get around to doing it tonight. Now, so we have covered education level of potential employees. We did that now tonight. Or did we? I'm a bit lost now. So. Education level of employees, about the higher capitation and things that we did. That's all about the higher capitation.
Oh, we did.
We did, yeah. The impact of new technologies. I was doing that now next, but we'll see how things will go. I might leave it alone. It's long enough. Well, it's 9 slides. Future skills needs. I haven't done tonight. So someone try. Yeah. So right now, we haven't done the next section now, which is core key competent transferable skills. That is quite short. actually all that is kind of going into one, more or less one slide. We said transferable skills would be, transfer your skills. You're in SNA as well as having childcare. You can transfer your skills. If you're a good driver, you can transfer your skills from being a driver to driving. I would say if the childcare facility or the school has transport, there's a whole list of things anyway. I have personal interpersonal skills. That really is your personal skills, is what you take from your skills audit, which you have done. And your interpersonal skills is how you relate to other people, colleagues, work colleagues, how you conduct yourself at meetings and things like that. But we will cover it, but it's very, very short. Digital literacy, how you are able to, how savvy are you with technology, we'll say with the internet itself, emails, search engines, WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, all that sort of thing, and team working as a team. Did you do something like this with Adrian? No? Team working? No. So we haven't that done. We'll be doing that. We haven't that done. All right? So that's to be done. That'll be done. I have it done actually. We'll never get it done though. It's done except to present it. The next one now is I was preparing for next week. We have it done at work, but there's a little bit more. It's health, safety and welfare at work, for example, by referring to legislation. We have it covered really under safety, but there might be a bit more. Roles and responsibility with reference to confidentiality. That kind of would be your job description. Now, equality legislation, for example, with regard to the 9 grounds as referenced in the equality, we will be covering that and we'll be listing the 9 grounds. And that's very important that you know that, because that's actually, it has to be put in, if you were ever a manager, or it has to be put into a document about discrimination. It has to do with discrimination. Union representation, well, there won't be much to be said about that because we've no union. But I'll have a piece about that, and regulations relating to pay. All you have to do is look back at what I have in pay already, or you have written up in pay. It's the same thing. You're talking about minimum wage. We'll be talking about annual leave, what you're entitled to, and maternity leave, what you're entitled to, and parental leave. So that's all. Now, them already you probably know anyway, because if you're particularly if you're working if you're in a workforce that is other than childcare, we're never quite sure what we're doing in childcare. You will know exactly what these are about. So they're to be done. They won't take long. The one above it won't take long. The one above it will be done, I'd say, the next night, maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour. That won't take long. Now, planning and preparation for work placement, okay? So, page 7.
Sorry, just on the section.
Yeah.
Sorry, just on the section 1. Like, if we start that, is it just like an essay?
What I would do is you can do that if you want to, but they will be looking for, if you would like, say, you can do it. What I would do is I would do it and I would put headings. The changing nature of work. Okay, if you want to write it as an essay, by all means write it as an essay, but make sure you put in words like the changing nature of work, and either put it in bold or highlight it, because the external examiner will be looking for these buzzwords. So just, when I'd be doing something like that, I prefer myself to kind of put a heading and write a bit under it. But that's entirely up to you how you want to do it. If I can read it in the middle of an essay and you're more comfortable doing an essay, by all means, that's what you do. Now, 7, planning and preparation for work placement. Research a variety of work organized, you did that, and personal career opportunities. Specific vocation facilitated that to complete the detailed personal, that's for me to achieve. Now, a skills audit. Now, this way you were to do yourself. You were to do your own skills audit. You were to cover your strengths, what you're good at, what your talents are, personal qualities and attributes. Are you a good listener? Do you show empathy? Anything? Interests? They'd kind of be your hobbies, but it would be a good idea if you could bring your hobbies also into your work. Practical skills appropriate to the vocational area. I mean, if you're good at cooking and you enjoy cooking, that can be very relevant to our work area, because you can cook with the children. Using health and safety, obviously. If you're good at baking, you bake with the children. If you're a good artist, if you like painting and you're good at painting, then you can do art with the children, anything like that. Prior learning, that'll be any courses you've done. Your level 5, your FAR course, your manual, anything at all, even if it's something that's nothing at all to do with childcare. If you've gone away and did some sort of a diploma or something in finance or in accounting or something, put that in because that's relevant. Transferable skills, what we were talking about that, and we'll mention it the next night. What are your transferable skills? Are you good at IT? Is your IT excellent? That's a transfer. If it's very good, it's still a transferable skill. We'll get back again to the driving. I'm obsessed with the driving, but it's the one that comes to mind. Are you a good driver? Are you an excellent driver? Whatever, that's transferable skill because you can drive in if there is, you'll be an asset to some businesses that have, would say, transport. Anything that you can transfer from another, if you're good at sports, you're excellent in the sports, well, that's a transferable skill because you'll be very good with doing PE with the children or doing physical activities under the well-being, astral well-being and things like that, and any other relevant skills. Anything else that you're good at, like if you enjoy volunteering, if you're a volunteer and you're a member of the Scouts or a member of the Girl Guides or a member of the soccer club or anything like that, that's a very good as well. That's a transferable skill because you're bringing what you learn from them into a school or a setting. So that's your own skills audit, and you do that, and you do it whatever way you want to. I gave you an example of it, but you do it whatever way. It doesn't matter what way you do it. If you've done one before, do whatever way you did it before. So that'll be it. People that did level 5. I think some people doing level 5 did a skills audit. And if you did pull out your level 5, have a look at it. You can include your level 5 or a copy of it then and show how you have improved or not, or disimproved. So now here we are, your CV and personal statement. Now you've that done, you'll have it done. Have Eva done already, ladies, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the personal statement, personal statement is important. Because it's important now for later on when I'm going to be doing things about job interviews and things like that with you and talking about the importance of a personal statement. Because that personal statement is what catches the eye of, we'll say, the employer, your personal statement. So we'll be talking about all that. So you've that done. Then we did this about your short, medium and long-term goals, your challenges to getting these goals and what training is needed. We covered that on the 8th. The second night. Now here's your activity plan. You should be in the middle of it or have it done and be writing it up or whatever. And from your activity plan, you take your entries as well. So make sure whatever entry, if your activity plan took 2 days, well, that's great because you have 2 entries. If your activity plan took 3 days, that's great, you have 3 entries because on day 1 you did whatever you did, that was 1 entry. On day 2 you continued it, that was another entry. And day 3 you finished it and you hung it up and all the parents had to be shown it, even though they couldn't come in. They took it out to the door to show them or make it up, something like that. That can be a 3rd inch. You can get an awful lot out of your activity plan. A letter of application, we went through that, and you'll get you know how to do that. I don't even have to tell you. Facilitate to use job finding strategies to find opportunities in the vocational area, and that would be, looking up the web and local newspapers, and I gave you information on that. And you will, at the very end of your project, like I said before, printing out, if you come across them now, ladies, just print them out and have them done. You'll be looking for evidence of you doing research to find job opportunities. Now, it doesn't have to be for a room leader. You can, or anything like that. It can be for a level 5, or it can be for a manager, because you down the road you look forward to being a manager, and you can be also a manager of a setting with no childcare qualification. Other than maybe having a business sense, because you have your employees then to work for you. There would be an awful lot of the really big childcare settings in Dublin, like Giraffe and all them, are not, the people that run them have no childcare qualifications at all. I think Giraffe is run by a few accountants that know nothing about childcare, but they have the qualified staff in there to run it for them. So That would be it. To develop practice skills, including, now this is, I haven't that done. Practicing, preparing for a practice interview, taking part in a practice interview, reflecting on the experience. That's when we'll be doing our interviews. But before that, I'll be giving you a whole lot of information that you'll be writing up on about preparation for an interview. We do the interview and then you'll reflect on it. You'll reflect on, did you use the tips that you were given on the interview, which you did, of course, and then how did the interview go? I will give you, each of you, 2 questions that I'm going to ask you. I am not supposed to tell you what questions I'm asking you, but I'm going to, so that you're ready. Don't say that. Say, you know, that 2 questions asked. You had, don't when I'm interviewing you, ladies, for God's sake, give me something you learned off, because of the fact is they will know. The external, she'll be looking at this and she will bloody well know. She said, Dave, we're given that already. So, I mean, the thing is kind of think about, say, look, you have to think about it and make sure you have a question to ask me back to clarify, because actually you get marks for asking questions. You get marks, right? So that's why I give you the questions to think about. I'll give you questions that are suitable to the field you're in now at the moment and things like that, and you can think about it. Now, oh yeah, we did the contract. We've that done. Yeah. And all about contracts and what you put into it and the confidentiality and code of behaviour and all that. And then you do up a contract between yourself and your employer or your room leader or whoever is supervising you while you're on work experience. Now you are
sorry, Joe.
Yes, love. Sorry.
Sorry. I was cut off there when you were talking about the contracts. So my writing, we're going to do up an essay type explaining the different headings of the contracts, and then we draw up our own contract.
That's exactly it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the contract is between you and whoever the manager it is. If you're an SNA in the school, it'll be your room teacher, whoever's in your room, and that'll be. It doesn't have to be anything complicated now at all. Now, what you do is make sure as well that the one thing you must have, girls, is we'll say your letter of application where you are applying to do. Looking for a job or whatever it is, but you must also look in writing for your hours of work experience. You request 120 hours work experience, blah blah blah. Then the room leader writes back, or whoever, or your class teacher saying yes, we'd be delighted to have you do the 120 hours. You can type that out yourself, and the leader or the room leader and teacher can sign it, and also on that is. You can put it all in the one thing is, yes, something like, we are very pleased to receive your application that you want to do 120 hours work experience in this school or within this setting or whatever. We would be delighted to accept you. You will be under the supervision of one of our room leaders or our class teacher. And throughout, and this is where the permission comes in, because you must have permission to do things. And throughout your work experience, you have permission to investigate any of our policies and procedures, to work with the children as necessary to complete this module, and but confidentiality must be adhered to. And that's all. And then you have your letter of acceptance and your permission in the one slip of paper. If you have that typed out and give it to whoever, your room leader or your class teacher, whoever it is, all they have to do is put their name to it. And so draw what suits yourselves really, but make sure that you have the acceptance and you have the permission, and the one piece of paper will do it. Right? Now we have here now, after that, now the contract is the communication. We haven't that done, but I'm sure Adrian did it with you anyway. Did he? Written, oral communication skills. He did it, visual communication skills, all about how to present things, and which can't be done really, like. You want to be in front of one, but look, we'll talk about it, nothing else. About, here we are, interpersonal communication, working in teams, effective listening, formal and informal conversational skills, understanding non-verbal communication such as body language. Now that's very hard to do online. I remember doing communication module inside in not communication, level 5 in Stefan Nefa in Cork, and my tutor for communication was a fellow called Eddie Fleming, and he gave us a whole module on body language. He was big into body language. He was absolutely brilliant. And I remember getting him to speak afterwards at a Girl Guide meeting to come in and talk to us about body language and how you can read people. And he was absolutely fascinating listening to him. And look, we'll talk about, when it comes to it, we'll say tips on how to, if you are having to deal with a parent and you know there's going to be problems. Or we'll say something like, we'll say my situation and things like that, and you go on to deal with a parent because they owe you money. I remember he mentioning that, and he said, well, you don't come down with your hair greasy and your worst clothes on you, because straight away you're at a disadvantage. You come down all made up and the hair done and wearing your jewellery. And then you don't go like, come here, you owe me €50 or whatever. You straight away put yourself at an advantage. And it has to do with the way you carry yourself and your poise and everything like that. Now, if you were talking to a parent as well, that you knew would feel uncomfortable talking to you, and and that maybe would be, sometimes parents are in awe of teachers and things like that. Well, then you don't dress up like that, because the last thing you want to do is intimidate a parent. But that's all the body language and how you approach yourself. So we'll have a word about that. So that we have to cover. The technology thing, you all know how to send an email, a fax. I don't know about that. SMS or Skype. They don't use faxes anymore, do they? I don't think they do. Anyway, you know how to do it. You know better than I know how to do it. Now, the next thing, work placement. We've that done. Permission. Permission to undertake the task, activity. We covered all that. All about the equipment. Communication, talking to supervisor and to the teacher before you carry out the task. We'll say notes and about notes and notices for the notice board, and asking permission from the manager, or not asking, but telling the manager you'd like to do it. Then you're talking about the responsibilities, health and safety, the ratios, relevant employment, regulations. Again, we're back to health and safety and ratios, reporting procedures, incident and accident. If an accident happens while they're out and they fall, they cut their knee, logging activities for future reference and all that. And then afterwards, write you up on your task. How did it go? Were you happy with it? What would you change? And make sure, once again, ladies, your supervisor or your room leader or your teacher or whoever it is signs off on your activity. And then we haven't touched section 4, because that has to cover your work experience. But a lot of it is feedback from the supervisor on the learner's personal performance. Reflect the learner to reflect on their work placement, and to include feedback received for supervisor learner's personal performance. You see, none of this is practical, because I have only given 18 hours with you. You have 120 hours to do. Even if I had 30 hours with you, your placement would still not be finished. So how am I going to talk to you about your would say feedback from the supervisor? Because you won't get that till you have your 20 hours done. So I mean, when designing this thing, some of it just doesn't make sense, but we'll talk about it anyway. Learning, you'll be talking about what you gained from your placement and the challenges you faced, adapting to new environment, conflict and criticism and all that. But that's kind of, look, it won't be next week we'll be doing that. It might be the week after, but we'll probably be going into another week after that. So instead of we do 6 nights, we'll do 7 nights to make sure we get it done. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
No, if you have any questions, no, girls, if you have any questions or any concerns or anything, you have my email address and you have a text, and just ask me and I'll get back to you on it. And now, tell me about your entries. How are they going? I'll tell you now, you can put, like I said, just give you an example. I sent you 2 examples of entries you could do. You can do a short one, or you can do a long one, or whatever it is. You can have an entry, we'll say, based on like I said, the activity you did. So that could be 1 or 2 entries. Now, if you can do something about an entry on, we'll say if you did fire drill, or if there was fire drill in the school. you could do an entry on a child falling and cutting their knee and what she did. Now, remember, if you do something like that, there has to be an accident incident book filled out. You could have something to do, like at the moment now, we've chickenpox in the school. And you could have an incident that about numbers down, and that the numbers were down, and because there was chickenpox. And what happened, you know, the parents were requested to phone in and say whether their child had chickenpox or not, just to keep a track on. It's something actually that the HSE look for is not, they don't want any names or anything, but it's kind of to notify them when we think the chickenpox is gone, or at the end of the year or something like that, that we had so many children in school and we had so many cases of chickenpox. And it's kind of statistics really for them. You could do something like that. You could do, has anyone any other ideas? I'm running out of ideas. You could do something very mundane altogether, some play activity you had with the child, with the children. You say, like, if the dolls, you were playing with the children and they were playing with dolls or something, and what happened, you went on then to wash the dolls and dry the dolls, and you spoke about the doll's hair, or you could talk about, you know, if you have the dolls with their anatomy in the right places and things like that, how it led to that. Like, I'm watching that program, what is it, go to in big school, you know, that one, that's an RTE. And you can, what is it, six, I can't remember, it's on the evening anyway. But you can do anything like that. It can be the most ordinary thing of the day, because of course we've days, and most days when they're ordinary enough, we're not all doing fierce exciting things every day. But I mean, you can talk about, you know, a big thing like is the COVID-19 now at the moment. And we see in our place now, the children, the minute they come in the morning, because they're so into the route, the first thing they do is they wash their hands. And we don't even have to tell them anymore. Now, you might have to tell the younger ones already after, we just automatically go and wash their hands. And a lot of them, and most of them, I suppose, really know now how to wash their hands properly. And they know it's kind of to keep the germs away and all that. So even something like that, the children automatically now going to the sinks in the morning and washing their hands and using their soap. And things like that. But they don't even have to be told, even in the middle of the day, sometimes they want to wash their hands. And so, you know, all that it can be as simple as something like that, that on that day you notice that, you observe that, it's an entry. Is there anything else you can think of? It can be something about a day you were painting with the children. You could do a thing on painting. Or you could do a thing on Play-Doh. Be careful of the Play-Doh, girls. Don't start making Play-Doh. If you're saying you're making Play-Doh as an activity, and you did, fair play to you, make sure you throw it away at the end of the session, because we have to throw it away. So we don't make Play-Doh. We have the box of Play-Doh, as I said before, and everyone has their own tubs of Play-Doh. Sorry, someone was going to say something there. No? All right.
Just an observation.
Sorry? Hello?
You could do an observation.
You can do an observation, you can? You can do I'm writing down here now, you can do an observation. Actually, it's a very good one. You can do an observation. If you're helping a child, we'll say that you have a program for a child. Let it be speech therapy, occupational therapy, and exercises has to be done. You can do something like that. You can write up on the program that a particular child B or C or something, not target child, no, but child B, C or whatever, has a program on, we'll say, speech therapy, and it's done daily while they're in school, and you did it that day with them, and you can write up about it. You know, you can do something like play a game of Snap, how you play Snap with the children. You know, now we've Halloween, so Halloween now will actually come into your thing right up on Halloween. God almighty, you get an awful lot in Halloween, girls. Like, you can get things like doing the pumpkin. We will be doing the pumpkin now next week. That's one entry. We'll say making witches' hats, or drawing witches' hats, or they're painting witches' hats, or whatever. That could be another activity. You could do one then, we'll say, if they dress up on Halloween itself, and that'll be another. You could get 3 or 4 entries out of Halloween. Now we'll say dress up. Well, I don't know what the policies in other settings are, but we have a policy this year that when they're dressed up for Halloween, they only wear the costume. They do not be bringing hats or face masks or anything because of COVID. We don't want to transmit. See, one witch's hat, they all come now with the same outfit from Dunn's, and every witch's hat is the same, and we have the clue who the witch's hats are. And other than putting their names on them when they come in, and we don't want to do that. So kind of the parents have been asked and will be reminded again that they only wear the main part of the costume. If they're the witches, they wear the witches thing, and don't be bringing brooms because we'll have 5 brooms and we don't know whose broom is who. And as well as that, you don't want them bringing separate things in from home, you know, and because by right they're not supposed to bring things in from home, like, but so that the costume is left on for the day, and that they can manage, the costume can be managed in the toilet, that sort of thing. So you could do something like that, you know, if that's what you're doing in your setting, about the dressing up for Halloween and whatever. Maybe your policy this year is there's no dress up. Might be your policy. Like we have that, but we're not having any games now, like Snap Apple and Dunking for Apple. We're having none at all of that this year. We're going to try other games where, you know, they don't have to be sharing apples or put 2 heads going into the box at one time. Sorry?
This is Camila. We had our Halloween party today.
Right.
And one of the parents went around the no loose objects with the costume. She's sewn on the cape onto the costume.
Well, that's a great idea. If they want to,
I thought it was a brilliant idea.
It is, or even, you know, yeah, and I mean, that now is thinking for the parents' point of view, like fair play to her. Or Lord save us, put them on with loads of safety pins or something. Do you know, but that's a great idea. Actually, I might suggest that actually, if there are capes coming, please show on the capes. You know, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. How did it go?
It went great. We started a bit too late because I know, we still managed it.
I know, yeah. Richard, don't mind.
It's quite different than last year. Like obviously there was no of the apple and all them, like, but we did Joe pinned the donkey, but we one of us painted a cat and we did pin the tail on the cat.
Oh, very good.
So we got a pumpkin and we got loads of toy hammers and still the small little pegs. And we were hammering the pegs into the pumpkins. Yeah. But we pre-made the holes because it'd be quite hard to burst through the pumpkin skin, like. Yeah. But still, they loved it. What else did we do? We did we had these little boxes, and we tied rubber bands around the boxes in every direction, and into them we threw spiders, insects, fingers, eyeballs, that kind of Halloween stuff. Yeah. And you know, the tweezers. Right. And let them pick it out.
Oh, they pick it out. Oh, very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, very.
Kind of like fine motor skills and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very good. That's excellent. That was very. God, you loads to write about.
Yeah. I can write. I just did up my hours there earlier. As of tomorrow, I'm finished my work experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so they say, you see, that's the thing. And you know what I saw as well was, I saw it on Facebook and I was doing, you know, if you're one of the small Christmas trees, we have one every Christmas, people have pulled it down for Halloween and they've covered it with, you know, you buy the old spider webs in the pawn shop or whatever it is, and the spiders, they covered the tree with it, and instead of a star on top of it, they had a witch's hat. Yeah, so, and it looked fabulous. I saw it on Facebook, someone had it on Facebook, it was very good. But I mean, you can do all that, ladies. That can be your entries, anything at all like that. If you know, you get 2 or 3 out of Halloween anyway.
Out of Halloween, I'd say I'll get nearly half of them.
Yeah, I know you could. Yeah, like, and I mean, even a colouring activity. You know, I mean, we'll say like we have the witches and things like that, and actually Cost Cutter, Macedon community have organised a colouring competition because the children can't go trick-or-treating. And June above the shop, she's doing trick-or-treat boxes. So we've 3 age categories, and there's 2 boxes going for each age. So the children here at the school all are entering their colouring competitions in above. You could even do something like that. So tomorrow, now we'll take all the entries up to the shop above, and because Saturday is the closing date, and that can be an entry as well. Like if you know, something like that, something different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anything else? Anyone else?
Can I ask you, Joan? Yeah, can I ask you there, Joan? You know, after each entry, we do a daily reflection, but then do we have to mention Ashton and Shilta after every entry?
No, you don't. No, not at all. Not really. No, you don't. You know, I mean, it's just here and there, and so that we know it's Ashton, you know, and that you know what Ashton is about, and things. Because some things, like, I mean, sure, Play-Doh and painting and all them would be the same, really, like, you know. And I mean, if you're out playing or something, what I'd be doing there is, if you were out playing and you were playing game of football and it was one of your interests, you'd say it comes under the theme of well-being and learning goal 1 or whatever learning goal 1 is, and leave that at that thing. Don't be worrying about it, like, you know. And because as long as we know when we're correcting that, you know, the general run of what Ashton is, you could be writing about Ashton for every, and some entries could have 4 or 5 areas like communication and things like that. So just a small bit, that's all. Don't be worrying about that at all. Okay. The main thing is get the entries in, do you know?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And anyone else got any other questions? You're all good to go? All right. Okay, ladies, so I'll see, can I find out something about globalization? If I do, I'll send it to you as a Word document, and see, can I make sense of it? To be honest with you, I said it to Caroline. Did she, because I looked it up and it was just, to me, it was gobbledygook. She said she did it in her final year of a level 8. And for God's sake, like, where do they think they're going? So she's to dig out stuff for me tonight. And hopefully between us we'll make some sense of it. And I'll send it to you then. All right, ladies?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Enjoy I'll see you next Thursday night. I know a lot of you are on midterm break, but you're going nowhere. So you might as well be here Thursday night with me. See, you're going nowhere. And we'll plow our way through it. All right, ladies?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just remember now, I'm at the end of a phone and an email. So don't send me any questions you have. Okay, ladies. Thanks very much, ladies, for your time. Cheers.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
week. Enjoy the weekend. Take a day off now, ladies. Make sure you take a day off for yourselves. Okay. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.